Finally, after what feels like an eternity, Formula One cars have graced the racing circuits during the preseason test of the 2025 season. With 2025 being the final year of the 2022's ground effect regulation, and with how 2024 season ended, there's a lot of expectation and hype heading into the 2025 season. Though you can't predict much with the lap times posted in the preseason test, we still got a glimpse of what we could expect in the 2025 season from the preseason test. So let's get into the video to see what they are. McLaren looks ominous. I think even before the test had started, we all kind of expected McLaren to be the pace setter at least at the first couple of rounds of the 2025 season, especially with how the team ended the season finale, where the team could have had an undisputed 1-2 finish if not for Verstappen. And the team looked even stronger during the 3-day test. McLaren also ran into far fewer issues this time out, which can't be said in the last two seasons because McLaren always started the season on a back foot trying to play catch up. But this time out, that was not the case. McLaren's pace both under one lap and under long run simulation looked really strong, and the car looked very poised going through the corners, which is a positive indication as McLaren had gone with a completely revised platform for the 2025 season. So McLaren started the preseason test with a lot of unknown as to how the car would perform. So their strong pace was reassuring as it confirms that the team has good understanding of their aero platform, especially with the floor, which seems to be the most unpredictable part of this ground effects car. McLaren is heading into the 2025 season with a car that could be a race winner from round 1, which is something we haven't seen from the Woking based outfit since 2012. The team also had a non-problematic test session for all 3 days, showing that the car is well optimized. Aston Martin struggles. Aston Martin seemed to have another troublesome year ahead of them. The fact that very little news came about a team that plans to be a title contender in the next 3 years is shocking. The AMR 25 looked very understeery going through the corners, and lead driver Fernando Alonso doesn't seem to be too impressed with the machine. Seems like 2025 could be a even worse of a year than what 2024 was for Aston Martin. The team in race simulation was mostly the 7th or at times even the 8th quickest behind both Williams and Alpine. Aston Martin made some significant changes to the aero platform of the AMR25 in hopes to fix the major issues of the AMR24, which was related to cornering balance and to reduce the nervousness under braking. But unfortunately, the AMR25 still looked pretty nervous under braking into a corner. Fernando Alonso also claimed that the team could have a very difficult start to the season, which is just disappointing. Hope that the data gathered from the 3-day test could help steer the team in the right direction in terms of developing the AMR25 to recover from the deficit with the first upgrade package that we could expect the team to introduce at the first round of the 2025 season. Red Bull worry. Red Bull is another team like Aston Martin that seem to face some struggle with their car. Red Bull's RB21 is an evolution of the problematic RB20, and the team claims to have fixed the major issues of the RB20 to make the RB21 a better platform. Red Bull must have found something special with the platform for the team to have retained RB20's concept. The team had a pretty dull test session with a handful of spins and a water pump failure. The team also introduced an upgrade package on the final day of the test session, which was a front wing and an underfloor, of which the front wing did its job while the underfloor didn't, which is a worrying sign because if you go back to last year, the team initially faced its performance slump with the upgrade package that they introduced at the Spanish Grand Prix, which was a new underfloor. It also goes to show how difficult it is to develop these ground effects cars, as these cars are just too aerosensitive. Verstappen was quite happy with the car after day 1, but is keeping his expectations realistic and expects for the team to not fight for race wins at the first couple of rounds. Red Bull ran multiple tests and data gathering till the final hour of the preseason test, so the team should be able to analyze through the data to find the issue and develop an upgrade package for the opening round of the season to limit the damage. Definitely 2025 will be a year that will test Red Bull's excellence and integrity, that's for sure. Williams seems quick. Williams looks mighty quick, and when I say this, it's in relative terms. Williams will suddenly not be fighting for podium positions, but the car definitely looks better improved compared to its predecessor. It looks like a car that could fight for regular points, and especially in the hands of Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon, the team now definitely looks like a stronger threat to be a upper midfield team. I'm not saying this by looking at the lap times because for all that we know, Williams could have just ran a couple of glory runs. I say this because I watched the footage of the car doing laps, and the FW47 definitely looks more confident and stable compared to the FW46. The drivers also look pretty comfortable with the car, and the long run race simulations look stronger compared to its competition. So, Williams could really be back. Flexi Aero. Flexi Wings and Flexi Aero is a topic that came to light last year, with McLaren and Mercedes being the team accused of reaping the rewards of exploiting this loophole. This year during the test, it became apparent that every team has taken their own interpretation of the loophole to push the boundaries. With McLaren, Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, and Haas seem to have reduced the carbon fiber reinforcement of parts to improve flexibility, with Mini DRS still being a thing despite FIA clamping it down last year. But I'm not sure as to how much of this will actually make it to round 1, but every team seemed to have taken their own interpretation of the loophole. So let's see how far the limits will be pushed before the Spanish Grand Prix, where the flexibility of aerodynamic parts will be narrowed and scrutinized. Pecking order. Predicting the performance pecking order based on the preseason test is pretty pointless, as there are a lot of variables like tire compounds, fuel load, engine mapping, and temperature differences. But the impression that I got from the preseason test was McLaren was the quickest, followed by Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, Williams, Alpine, Haas, Racing Bulls, Aston Martin, and finally Stake Sauber. So in the end, the pecking order of the top 4 from the end of 2024 is unchanged, but there's a massive shake-up from P5 to P9, with Red Bull and Mercedes looking really close in terms of pace. Williams looks strong, but both Aston Martin and Stake F1 Sauber seem to have disappointed yet again with their performance from the preseason test. The real performance pecking order will be seen at round 1 of the 2025 season, for which I can't wait to see how accurate of a prediction I made. So yeah, let me know down in the comments on what are your thoughts on the preseason testing, on my performance pecking order prediction, and also if I had missed any that you had noticed, put it down in the comments. I would love to have a discussion. That being said, if you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Foravin if you haven't already. And until next time, it's me Vinesh from Foravin, and I'm out. Peace.